Hello, dear friends. I know that today's topic is not very spiritual, but it's necessary to step on the ground from time to time, or at least to contemplate the less tragic fact of current events on Earth, so as not to be traumatized. I will give a hint for the impatient. It is possible that Operation Sting refers to the sun sign of Scorpio, in which we are currently, because the scorpion has a sting. Opinion piece. The rich seek zen at sea. Superyachts enjoy the tailwind. Risk of a market bubble increases. New York stock market plunges after a hot streak. Wall Street starts to worry about inflation. Bitcoin hits another record high at over $68,000. Mexico's inflation reaches its highest level since 2017. AMLO wants to charge 4% of the fortunes of the richest people. Money printing would be the basis of a pyramidal scam. Let's start. As the number of billionaires grows and the crisis has added to incentives to avoid the crowds, the global multi-billion-dollar luxury yacht industry is recovering rapidly after near standstill at the onset of the crisis. Sales of luxury yachts over 30 meters were up more than 80% in the first 9 months of 2021 compared to the same period in 2019 before the crisis. The cost of a super yacht can range from $10 million second-hand to $600 million new. More than 200 new ones took to the water for the first time this year through September, compared to 165 in the same period in 2019. Some 330 have been ordered to be ready by 2023. The MB92 Shipyard in Barcelona is at full capacity with vessels up to 1,080 meters in length. Enormous. Around 1,000 workers paint, repair engines and perform other maintenance for owners, looking to have them ready for the year-end Caribbean season. Italian yacht builder Ferretti's order book topped €900 million in January-September, well above the €691 million for the full year 2019. Chartering is a super yacht is also an option if you can afford it. A one-week luxury charter for up to 12 passengers in Greece or Italy can cost between €300,000 and €500,000. Both facilities include spas, Michelin-level restaurants, water sports instructions, and fitness classes. In another popular destination, Croatia, some 433,000 people enjoyed a yacht charter vacation this year through mid-October, up to 88% from 2020. Refighter MB92 is looking to expand into the Middle East and the Americas, while its Barcelona neighbor, Marina Port Bell, will build 33 new berths for superyachts. Breaking news. Risk of a market bubble increases. The Federal Reserve's loose monetary policy and picking up in the pace of inflation have left investors with negative real interest rates, which are full for asset bubbles, want the chief investment officer of Morgan Stanley Wealth Management Unit. Wall Street falls, ending a streak of record highs. The New York Stock Exchange fell Tuesday, threatening to end an 8-day winning streak, ending a multi-day rally from consecutive record highs as profit-taking and inflation worries fueled a broad sell-off. Wall Street is starting to worry about inflation. Investors are more concerned about inflation than the Fed seems to be, amid the market debate over whether inflation will be transitory or permanent. Closely watched indicators such as bond yields are sending us mixed signals about the future. That's partly because the real economy is also struggling through its own competing impulses. The supply chain crisis and the upward pressure it puts on breakneck inflation remain the two most important themes of 2021. Markets. Treasuries fall. 10-year and 30-year Treasury yields continue to retreat Tuesday to the lowest level in months as traders ignore October wholesale inflation data, despite a rise in producer prices that was largely attributed to sharp increase in the cost of gasoline and vegetables. European bond yields also fall. Eurozone bond yields fell Tuesday, resuming a slide that began last week after major central banks pulled back against market expectations for tighter monetary policy. Gold nears a resistance barrier. Gold markets have opened slightly to start Monday's trading session, but then turned around to fill the gap. At this point, it looks like the market will attempt to reach the $1,835 level, an area that has been a massive resistance barrier. If we can get above that level, it is likely to go much higher. At that point, I would anticipate the market targeting the 1,900 level. Crude oil rallies higher. Crude oil prices rose on Tuesday, with traders awaiting the latest inventory figures and a possible move by the administration to combat rising gasoline prices. Finance. Private equity industry asks how long the boom will last. Private equity deal makers are arriving in Berlin for their annual meeting, with the industry thriving and many of them wondering how long the good time will last. Money printing would be the basis of a Ponzi scheme. In quotes, money printing would be the basis of this big Ponzi scheme that would be translating into a big hyperinflationary collapse of fiat currencies like sterling after the Bank of England decided to keep against all odds interest rates unchecked, says Max Stacy in the Kaiser report. In quotes again, everyone is euphoric and calling for more money to keep printing until suddenly the economy collapses. You can't have a central bank to rig the system in favor of the plutocrats while preventing workers from having wages commensurate with the money printing. Cryptocurrencies. Ethereum continues to rise. The price of Ethereum reached its highest level during the morning of November 8th. It is currently up to 3.6% of the day and has gained more than 10% since last week. Meanwhile, Bitcoin has hit a new record high, surpassing the 68,000 mark for the first time. The price of Bitcoin, the world's most popular cryptocurrency, renewed its all-time high by surpassing 68,000. The CoinMarketCap portal indicates that the Bitcoin reached the price of about $68,530. Supply crisis. US foresees supply chain problems. Supply chain problems will continue until the crisis is truly over, although improvements are expected in the coming months, Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg said Monday. Food prices rise. Britain's food price inflation hit a 14-month high in October amid supply chain problems. British consumers will feel their finances squeezed in the coming years as inflation, interest rates and taxes rise and welfare payments fall. British consultation on digital currency. The Bank of England and Britain's Finance Ministry said Tuesday they would hold a formal consultation next year on whether to go ahead with a possible central bank digital currency that would take years to introduce. Europe. Spanish household income falls. Real household income in Spain fell by 1.2% per capita in the second quarter, a lower decline than the OECD as a whole, where the decline was 3.8%. Europe considers backup plan to curb gas shortage. Europe could find a way out of natural gas shortage if the winter is colder than usual. Europe's tight gas market may find relief from the supply crisis by tapping into some of the so-called cushion gas, which keeps supply pressure on storage facilities. EC approves use of silkworms as animal feed protein. The European Commission has approved the introduction of silkworms to the list of insect species authorized for the production of processed animal protein for use in the manufacture of feed for farm animals. Russia. Gazprom resumes filling European gas deposits. Russian gas company Gazprom announced the resumption of pumping hydrocarbon to 5 subway deposits in Europe. European gas prices fall on Russia news. European gas prices fell 4.5% at the open of trading on Tuesday amid increased supply from Russia. Prices fell following news that direct Russian gas supplies through the Yamal Europe pipeline to Germany resumed on the night of November 8th. Belarus Sanctions. The European Union is close to imposing more sanctions on Belarus, targeting some 30 individuals and entities, including the foreign minister and Belarusian airline Belavia. More than 2,000 migrants tried to cross the border between Belarus and Poland in Grodno region. More than 2,000 refugees, including women and children, are standing in front of the barbed wire of the border with Poland. The migrants aim to reach the European Union as they do not consider Belarus as a destination. China. China urges to prevent speculation in the energy market. China's Vice Minister of Commerce Ren Hongbin called on the international community to contain speculation in the energy sector and prevent sharp price fluctuations. China plays with fire by enforcing price control on coal. China's largest power utility, State Grid Corporation of China, announced on Sunday that power supply and demand in its service areas have returned to normal and blackouts have decreased. China's real estate stress could pose risks to the economy. The Federal Reserve warned in its semi-annual overnight financial checkup that the stress in China's real estate sector could pose some risks to the financial system, pointing to recent concerns about China Evergrande Group, the world's most indebted real estate developer. Americas. Panama approves fuel subsidy. The Panamanian government approved in a dialogue with representatives of the passenger transportation sector a temporary fuel subsidy to review certain incentives to lower the cost of tires and motor oil, among others, thus avoiding a strike announced for this Monday. Colombia announces new oil and gas discovery in the east of the country. The Colombian state oil company Ecopetrol announced the presence of gas and light oil in one of its wells located in the municipality of Agua Azul, Casanare East, which according to the company marks the beginning of a new field in that region. Mexico's inflation reaches highest level since late 2017. Inflation stood at 6.24% year on year in Mexico, the highest since December 2017, and more than double the Financial and Monetary Authority's target of 3% annual rate. López Obrador proposes at the United Nations a wet plan of fraternity and well-being that includes contributions from the richest people on the planet. The President of Mexico, Andrés Manuel López Obrador, announced that Mexico will propose in the coming days to the United Nations General Assembly a wet plan of fraternity and well-being. The objective is to guarantee the right to a dignified life to 750 million people who survive on less than $2 a day, he said. AMLO seeks to charge 4% to the fortunes of the richest people in the world. 10,000 richest people in the world, the 1,000 most favored private corporations, and the G20 governments should form an international economic fund to fight inequality in the world. The President of Mexico launched his proposal from the UN. Restarting transatlantic travel. The reopening of the US to British travelers will help all airlines operating between the two countries, but for UK-based Virgin Atlantic, which focuses on the transatlantic business, it means the world, its chief executive said. Curious. Virgin Galactic sells 700 tickets for commercial space flight for the end of 2022. The company Virgin Galactic, owned by Britain's Richard Branson, which sold about 700 tickets from commercial space flight on its VSS Unity spacecraft, will begin service late next year. Greenpeace declare war on nuggets. Chicken nuggets sold by fast food chains are one of the most criticized products given their high energy density and low meat content. The latest Greenpeace campaign in France has this food as its main target. Egg-plane could revolutionize global air transport. The Autocelera 500L is an aircraft that looks like no other. It looks like a cross between a suppository, a zeppelin, and a rugby ball. Why is it so different from other airplanes? For a good reason. It has unique aerodynamics. The Celera's shape is designed to drastically reduce drag by allowing air to flow very smoothly over the surface of the plane. This means the aircraft needs less power, which means it consumes less fuel. This makes us 4 to 5 times more efficient than other turboprop aircraft and 7 to 8 times more efficient than jet aircraft. Flying in the Celera will cost $328 per hour versus $2,100 to fly in a private jet. All this with enough space for 6 passengers. And that's all for today. Thanks a lot, dear friends.